Thank you so much, Kalina. This story was special to Alan. Throughout 2005, Rickman received treatment for an aggressive form of prostate cancer. The operation coincided with the casting for Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, and he deliberated over whether to return to the series, but decided in favor, stating, "The argument that wins is the one that says, see it through. It's your story. What a reminder to celebrate life even in the face of illness." For that reason, he wanted to be a part of Matilda's story. And boy, he would have lived to see the day where he could have fucked in a mask. Our second story, For Better or For Worse, written by Emily and read by Grace Gibson.
So, let's talk about choices. We make them every day. Should I hit the snooze button one more time? Should I wear those heels to work today because I'm feeling extra cute, knowing by the end of the day I'll be limping back to my car? Should I make that dish for dinner that I bought all the ingredients for, or order from Uber Eats again? Should I swipe right on the shirtless guy whose profile pic was taken while he was on the toilet? Just so you know, the answer to that one was, and should always be, no. Big time no. The point here is that we are solely responsible for the choices we make in this life. I'd like to think that regardless of what comes from them, we're able to find something to be grateful for. I was in my early 30s, and one night I met a few friends at Poison Girl to hear some blues and hi-fi. The booze was flowing, I was dancing, and it was grand. The time had come for us to leave, so I pulled out my keys and off we went. One light, one left turn, and a few blocks later, I found myself trying to walk in a straight line toward the police officer who had told me to do so. I stumbled and told him that I've never been a graceful girl, which is actually kind of true, but of course, he didn't believe me. He put on the cuffs, threw me in the back of the car, and it was off to the holding tank I went. I was in jail for about a day and a half, though it felt quite a bit longer. It was cold, literally, scary, and intense. You can actually see regret, fear, anger, and in some cases, madness on the different faces surrounding you. Needless to say, it was not a pleasant experience. My brother bailed me out. I was sentenced to a year of probation, and I was on point in fulfilling the requirements. I paid the fines, installed a breathalyzer in my car, and peed in a cup in front of my probation officer every month. But still, all the while, continuing to make bad choices. About 10 months into my year of probation, I walked into Target and walked out in handcuffs. Back to jail I went. Ironically, the shirt I was wearing that day, which I burned later, said, "Feeling lucky." Ugh. This time I was in jail for 4 days. I was processed and sent to county and given an orange uniform that felt as though it had been worn by someone for at least a week and then poorly washed. I recall one day before dinner, the officers walked all of the inmates to a gym, made us strip naked, and bend over while they walked around to look and see if we had weapons or drugs inside us, I guess. It was humiliating. Now, I will say, even though I kept quiet and put on what I later coined my prison face, I actually met a few nice people there. Just so you know, the best way to break the ice in jail really is to ask, "What are you in for?" There were these lovely prostitutes who shared some tips and tricks should things ever get hard. There was a lady that had been in there for months for check fraud and apparently was really popular. She seemed like one of the more well-respected, seasoned inmates, and she took a liking to me. I don't really think that my so-called prison face was all that convincing. She took me to her cell, explained what commissary was, and showed me how to make spaghetti with ramen and ketchup. She also made a pie with Reese's peanut butter cups, Oreos, powdered milk, and water. Perhaps that's why she was so popular. In all seriousness, I spent the vast majority of my time laying on the cot in my cell in the fetal position facing the wall. I just kept asking myself what the fuck I was doing. How did I get there? What was going on with me? Who was I? Because it's not someone I wanted to be. Never did I think I would end up where I was, laying there, scared, trying not to cry, and listening to loud, unstable women yelling at each other. Everything was so loud, bright, stinky, and cold. Always so cold. It was really traumatic. And it was all my own doing. My brother bailed me out again. When I walked out of jail, he was there waiting for me. I can only imagine how I looked because as he approached, I sensed his empathy. I didn't feel judged. I just felt his love. It broke my heart because I knew I had disappointed him. He hugged me and asked if I was okay. I started crying and said I just wanted to go home. I didn't say a word during the ride. I just cried quietly while looking out the window, trying to hide my face in shame. My DUI probation was jacked at that point. Not only did I acquire another offense, but it was worse. I'll stop here and say that the grace of Lord Krishna is unfathomable and infinite. And you might understand why after this next bit. So I reached out to a friend from high school who I hadn't talked to in over 10 years. I knew that she had become a public defender, and I was desperate for advice from someone I felt I could trust. She asked about my life over the past few years, and then said something that validated my questions I kept asking myself. She said she knew me and felt that my character was good. And given that I never had any previous offenses, I must be going through something to have made the choices I did that landed me in jail twice in less than a year. She wasn't able to take my case, but made an arrangement with one of her colleagues who happened to be this big-time lawyer in town. Like, the kind of lawyer that walks into a courtroom and everyone goes out of their way to say hello and reach out to shake his hand. So big time that he had one of those like charming yet obscenely big houses in the Heights. In the end, he got the charge expunged. He got the charge expunged from my records, and I only had to do another year of probation for the DUI. Oh, and I only had to pay him $500. I don't know why I thought I could trust someone from high school and hadn't talked to in over 10 years. I don't know how she was able to connect me with a lawyer of that caliber who charged me so little. That's Lord Krishna's grace. And you know, my friend was right. At that time, there was a lot of emotional baggage from my past that had started to surface. I'm not using that as an excuse for my actions, but it was a contributing factor. When I reflect back on the big picture, the choices I made that resulted in me going to jail actually led me to a path of healing. And for that, I am extremely grateful. Because now I am confident. I can confidently say that I'm stronger, wiser, and I know who I am.